G'day guys, it's Jay Ellis here, High Performance Lecturer. I'm out here at the Whitewater Stadium. Really excited to be joined by a few coaches today, and our first one, a national coach, Julien Billaut. Did I say that correct?
Yes, perfectly said.
Fantastic. Firstly, thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. We've got so much to talk about. I absolutely love networking with high performance coaches. So let's get started. Firstly, can I ask the most obvious question, Julien? How did coaching start for you?
So I think it all started as myself being an athlete before in the French team, and I went through a rather long career as a French athlete, and during this career I also studied. So I went to university, got myself a master in sports science something, I don't remember exactly.
Yep.
Another one in a business school in Paris around marketing, sport marketing. And towards the end of my career, I sort of naturally got into coaching because, you know, I had the technical skills, I knew the venues, the teams, the athletes. I put myself out there as a, you know, somebody that could work and coach, and I got my first gig as a head coach in a Chinese province,
wow.
A Chinese region. So I went there, worked for them for a bit less than 2 years, and then I applied for the job in Australia, which I got. Was successful. So here I am. It's been 8 years working for Paddle Australia.
Wow, wow. So a lot of experience, a lot of different cultures. For a lot of students that will be watching this and the audience that will watch this, it's about upskilling. It's about learning high performance techniques that some of our great coaches are obviously doing in the industry at the moment. Let's rewind. Let's go back to your athletic career very quickly if we can. I did some research before I came out here and I saw the amazing success that you had. What's some of the highlights for you and some of the key things potentially that you learnt as an athlete in life?
Yeah, it's a great thing. Thank you for that, because I think I've learned more for life than for the sport itself. Sure. Being an athlete, so it's just great to have the opportunity to speak about that. I think especially our sports, being outdoor and dealing with water, is very uncertain. And to me, it teaches you a whole philosophy of life, knowing that you may wake up in the morning and you're not exactly sure how your day will unfold. It's exactly the same as an athlete when you are on the start line. You have a plan, you do have a plan of course, but you're not exactly sure how you will execute the plan. So you've got to get a strong belief in what you are about to do, but you've got to be able to back yourself up as well with a multitude of different skills, life skills, technical skills, sports skills, whatever, to make sure that you can deal with the uncertainty of the day or the session or the race. So it's a whole philosophy of life that I've learned through canoeing in my career. So that's the sports. And then high performance. I learned to quickly change a negative thing into a positive thing, to learn quickly from it in a really, really challenging environment. Being in France, having been an athlete in France, where it's extremely challenging in our sport, yep. I was in a training group of Olympic champion, Olympic medalist, world champion, European wow. champion. And you constantly train and work together. So you've got to be smarter than the other one, or at least, you know, learn from each other, knowing that there will be one only winning. So you've got to be mindful of that, and you've got to find the resources inside yourself to make sure that you won't be disappointed if it's not you. So that you have to chase something bigger than the results.
And I think that's obviously something that you've learnt throughout your athletic career, but that's now transitioned into your coaching career. So let's talk about your coaching. Let's talk about communication and feedback towards your athletes. How much time do you put into the importance of communication and how you deal with your athletes?
The brief answer would be more and more. as I'm getting more experience, I realize the communication is just massive, and often we assume people know, or they should know, or I know, therefore the athlete knows, but it's never like that. And what I know may not be perceived as, or it may be perceived slightly differently from the athlete. So communication is massive, and as a coach, I try to always check in as much as I can every day with different mediums. That could be social media, that could be face-to-face, which is very important. That could be through email, that could be through, you know, another person as well within the staff to ask a question differently. Yeah.
Important.
Very, very important, massive.
Yeah.
Even more when you've got you know, the era of big data is coming in. We tend to, that's funny, we talked about that yesterday with the coaches. We get more and more datas, and it's great, but you can be sucked in really quickly.
Of course.
And then you want to keep this, I would say, warm relationship with the athletes, with the person, because if you are sucked into the data too much, you forget what makes a human being, the quality of, you know, the exchange with the people and how they feel. Just like it's how you feel is so important to win and to perform at your best on the day.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I was just about to make the comment that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what sport, we're dealing with humans.
Yes.
And we need to understand emotions.
Yeah.
Now, did you always know that from the start of your coaching? Because is that something that you just saw as an athlete, or has it grown over time, the level of importance when it comes to feedback and communication?
I think I've always known communication as an very important tool and topic. I think it's grown alongside my experience and understanding a bit more how you can communicate well with impact. As you understand more, like as you dig deeper into the layers, you become more mindful of what it is and how you can act. So it's always been there, but then I've got more tools now to really use good communication in different ways. So it's becoming more of a daily routine for me.
I want to flick the switch a little bit, because we're at this amazing facility, this place that you call home. What's the Australian culture like for your coaching career as opposed to some of the other experiences?
Yeah, interesting question. That's definitely something we've been brainstorming on the last month with the coaches and the staff. We are quite successful in Australia as a sport. We've got strong individuals. We believe we don't necessarily have a clear way to do things, and we're trying to make it even more like to find a blueprint, like what is the Australian way to win. And coming from Europe, people have got a lot of rivers, they can paddle a lot, they can get on the water a lot, they've got really good coaches all the time from the club to the, you know, the highest level. In Australia, we lack bits and pieces of that. We do have a great tool here, but I think I'm just going a bit away from the initial question, but I think what struck me the first time I arrived here is how people are chilled and probably too much. So they get into the sport because they love it, but they didn't quite grasp the importance of how to become a high performing individual, become a high performance athlete. And that's what I've been trying to educate the athletes on. You love it, but how do you perform in it?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, and I've done quite a few interviews recently with high performance coaches that had said something very similar about really striving for the very top and bringing that knowledge to athletes and trying to close the gap, I guess. And that's interesting that you'll bring that from other cultures. But how do you communicate that with athletes? How do you potentially say to an athlete, you can be even better when, of course, every athlete has a personality or an ego that maybe I'm good already how I am. Has that been a struggle for you, not just here in Australia, but in your coaching career?
Yeah, it's always a struggle, especially when the athletes are not aware or are a bit sort of narrow-minded or not, simply not aware. They don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So my goal as a coach is to let them understand what they can do better. And usually we've been using more data, like hard data, to show them what the gap is to the best. Because being remote in Australia, it's really hard to compare yourself to the best all the time. So we've been trying to use as many data as possible from the international benchmark events to show them, to educate the athletes on what is the gap to the best. And from there, really quickly, and they're smart, they see the gap and they can't argue. Well, okay, I've got so many penalties. I'm 3 seconds behind on average. So you use the data to hook them in, and then it's there, you give them the accountability to find a way to fill the gap as well. You don't want to be the coach that is constantly hammering them with, you should do this, you should do that. They have to find their own accountability in the sport, because ultimately it's them paddling, it's them racing, it's their life. So they should be accountable fully for what they do. And it's a long process. It's frustrating for the coach as much as it is for the athlete, of course, but you've got to be patient. Like it doesn't happen overnight. And even less when you've got less pressure in Australia. Coming from France, you know instantly every day if you're in or if you're out.
Yeah.
In Australia, you can't see, you can't build this awareness every day. So you as a coach, you've got to be in their faces a bit more. It might feel a bit heavy for them, but that's what, as a coach in Australia, I've felt. I've got to be pushy a bit more because they don't realize what the next step is.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 key words there for me. And in the last 3 days, I've interviewed 3 coaches, and they've all spoken about accountability and passion. And I can see by talking to you, when you start to explain that the passion's automatically there, that means you're a coach. That means that you're a coach, and you absolutely love what you do. What I want to do is I want to flick the switch a little bit now and talk about, go kind of back to your journey and to finish off this interview. But you're obviously achieving and doing wonderful things here, and I know some of the staff that you work with, and they've told me great things about you before this interview. What is the ultimate goal? What's the journey for you? Because for a lot of the audience watching this, it's hard to get into the industry. It's really hard. There's not enough jobs. Everyone wants to work in sport. You're very privileged and lucky to be doing that now.
I know.
So what's next?
So what's next for me?
Yeah,
that's a big question.
What would you like to achieve in your coaching career?
Good question. I think I'll go 2 ways there, but it's being very honest, I think. One is getting an Olympic medal in the category, the class I coach, the men's kayak. I'd like to achieve that, an Olympic medal. And the other one is, I would say more deeply, I just want to keep growing, like just want to keep understanding. So we were speaking earlier about communication. I just want to become smarter about how to communicate well, how to understand people better. So then you can help them to realize their full potential. I think this is what coaching is about. It's not so much about the results. The results are there, it's good, it drives you for a while, but deeply you're in it because you want a person to become better. You've got few skills as a coach to help them to become better at what they do, and you realize along the track that it's by building trust with a person that you can get the most out of them. So I think it's become my journey.
Yep, absolutely. Can I ask, going forward, and you're obviously already successful in your coaching, but what amazes me the most from speaking with you for the past 10 or so minutes is that you just constantly want to get better. So a lot of students that I work with want to get into the industry, they want to develop, they want to network, and that's all important. Even when you get to your level, it's still so important. What's the one bit of advice that you might give in professional development and networking, and what's advice that you may potentially give there?
You're right. I've always been extremely curious about or motivated to learn for myself.
Sure.
Personally, I've used a lot books and podcasts.
Yep.
A lot, and I'm very mindful when I'm learning. I listen a lot to podcasts. I read a lot of books, and when I'm a bit tired, I step back a bit. So I'm being very mindful of that, and I'm trying to, kick myself in the ass to go, okay, just get, listen to this one, this one. And as you grow, the first time I remember being in China, I learned a lot about strength and conditioning. I knew a part, but I tried to learn something different about it from the US. And as you grow, you try to learn from different fields, and then you sort of bring those new ideas for yourself that are new for yourself. You bring them into your thinking, and then you grow your thinking. And then I've got the luxury, I think, to be surrounded by people that are open-minded and functioning at a high level as well. So then once I've got a good idea, I just want to discuss it with the other persons around me to see if it makes sense and to build my own sort of theory about it. And then I try to put it into practice. And if it works, perfect, it's there, I use it. If it doesn't, or if it doesn't make sense enough, I just, put it aside. So go out there, be very curious, guys. Extremely curious about whatever you love. Because I love orchids, I love plants, and I've learned a lot from caring about orchids. How does it translate to athletes? How much fertilizer? Build the environment around. Don't be on their faces all the time every morning. Just build the environment around, and then enough humidity, enough good temperatures, warm enough. And then once you set up everything around, the orchid can grow. But if you constantly in its face every morning, putting too much water, putting too much fertilizer, it just doesn't work, it just dies. And it's the same for the athletes. So give them some room, give them some room to grow, but make sure the environment is perfect for them to challenge, to grow.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Did I expect that answer? Absolutely not. But it's very good advice, and it's about it's building a puzzle, isn't it? And bringing all the pieces together and being curious, like you said, and developing and wanting to grow in that industry. I cannot thank you enough. I really do appreciate your time. We will wrap it there, and I am very grateful. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I have no doubt that you're going to continue to be curious. You're going to continue to listen to your flower podcasts.
Yes.
You're going to continue to do all that sort of stuff, and let's hope that medal for your athletes on the way. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay.
Appreciate it.